Black Knight just came out and said that 25% of the people who bought with a mortgage in 2022 are upside down on their homes, and 80% of the people who bought in 2022 have less than 10% equity. Welcome to the Good News Real Estate channel, where we talk about real, honest, data-driven events here in Boise and beyond. We're going to briefly look at the Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle market and how that's affecting the Boise market. And then we're going to break down the Boise market. We're going to break it down to county, all the way down to the city. And then we're going to break down resale versus new construction and land development. We're going to give you real live data. And we're going to show you the inventory is really up when people are saying it's down. And if you stay till the end, you'll see my predictions on which cities are going to have the biggest correction in 2023. Why are we looking at Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle? Well, according to this map, if you watched this before, Redfin has a migration of people who searched. Right now, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Seattle are the top three in that map. Keep in mind, in 2020, Boise area boomed because people wanted to migrate to the state of Idaho because they wanted less restriction from the states they were coming from. They wanted a better lifestyle, and they want to be surrounded by happy and friendly people. So if you're not happy or friendly, this state isn't for you. Let's jump into this graph. So we're going to start with the graph from Black Knight. Now, Black Knight, what they did is they brought price home index. This shows which cities have had the most negative equity as far as the big metropolitan areas. Los Angeles only has a 7% decrease. Seattle has 11.9 decrease, and San Francisco has 13.1% decrease. A lot of people talk about supply and demand, and we end up coming across this map, and I think it shows very well on their inventory, and that's what you need to watch for in your area. What is the inventory looking like? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Sometimes you can't just look over month over month. You have to look year over year, or sometimes you got to look back 3 years. Now, this map, they put it together, pulled from the Zillow data. Everybody can get this data off of Zillow. But we look back at LA, and LA, what we see is that their inventory, based off of pre-pandemic levels, we're looking at 2019. So from 2019 to now, it looks like their inventory is about 61 to 72%. And that's why they're probably only seeing about a 7% decrease. If we were to go look at Seattle, now what we see here is the inventory is increasing, right? So Seattle has 89 to 99%, depending on which part of Seattle you're looking at, according to the pre-pandemic levels. 89 to 99% of what the listings were and pre-pandemic levels is what they have currently. What's very fascinating, that the highest one that is migrating here is from San Francisco, 101% to 121% of inventory compared to 2019 pre-pandemic levels. And that's why they have the biggest drop. That we're going to drive home here in a minute when we go into the Boise market is, what is the supply that we have versus the demand? I brought these three markets up because those are the highest searched markets that are looking to move here. We have to follow those markets because our market, what drove the boom over the last 2 years was people migrating. All right, buckle up because we're about to nerd out and jump into a bunch of data. Before we get started, we just want to say thank you to Landpro DATA, today's sponsor, who provided the development data as far as the dirt, the developed lots, etc. And if you want to be able to track Idaho's development, there's a link below to sign up and subscribe to Landpro DATA. Okay, so we're going to start with Ada County. Now, Ada County, for those of you who've never been to Idaho or you're looking at Idaho, Ada County encompasses Boise, Meridian, Eagle, Star, Kuna. As a whole, the median sales price has dropped 2.5% year over year. This is the first time it's dropped year over year. It's dropped 13% as a whole since May of 2022. And when we look at inventory as a whole, it is up 131% year over year. But the crazy thing is, this is the most inventory we've had since May of 2017. Our current inventory sits at right about in Ada County, 1,843. In May of 2017, the highest it's been since then was sitting right at 1,866. Homes listed, and that's including resale and new construction. Also have to look at solds and pendings. The reason why we're looking at solds and pendings is because that's showing us our buyer activity. Before on this channel, we've already talked about how mortgage applications are down for purchases. This is what's really fascinating because people might say this is seasonal. Looking at November to November, our sales are down 39% and our pendings are down 45%. So we have a huge decrease of buyer demand and a skyrocketing increase of inventory. So when somebody's telling you that the inventory is low, it is low, maybe compared to 2008 in Canyon County, which we're going to get to in a second. It's actually the same as 2008. Now, what's really interesting as far as the data goes is when we separate resale versus new construction, we're going to see kind of a shift. So for the existing, or what we call resale homes, our sales price are actually down 15%, and our pending sales are down even further by 52%, and our inventory has shot up by 127%. Our inventory for new construction, 136% up. Closed sales are only down 19%. And what's that showing us is buyers are looking at a resale house versus a new construction house, and when the builders who are having to drop their prices are selling for the same price that a resale house is going for, these buyers are not going to the resale house, but actually buying a new construction house, especially with the builders who are offering $30,000 in incentives, or another builder right now is offering 2% of buying your interest rate down 2% just so that they can move inventory. Okay, now let's jump into Canyon County. Canyon County, for those of you again who don't know, that's Nampa, Caldwell, Middleton. Those are the three cities that we're going to be looking at when we're talking about Canyon County. Canyon County is still up year over year, and you might hear some agents that are going to be like, oh my gosh, we're still up year over year, the market's not changing. We're only up 1.2% year over year in the median, and that includes both resale and new construction. When you separate those two, what you'll see is resale, it's actually down 5.9% year over year. But what's mind-boggling is we're down 15% since the beginning of May. So since May to now, we're down 15% as the median sales price from May to 2022. Okay, but now let's look at the inventory. So the inventory for Canyon County, we're gonna separate it from new construction versus resale. Resale right now is up 116%. That's the highest inventory we've had since 2015. New construction inventory for Canyon County, that's Caldwell, Nampa, Middleton, is the highest it's been since 2008. The pending sales is down only 23%. So we're seeing that people are still buying up property, new construction property out there. So now let's jump into Landpro data. We're looking at new home transfers. We're looking at how many permits are builders pulling in that specific city, how many vacant lots are available, how many lots are gonna be available as they're getting entitled, as they're going through and getting the drawings done by the engineers and getting things signed off. So let's jump into this real quick. Again, thank you, Landpro Data, for providing this for us. Okay, so we're gonna start in Ada County, and we're just gonna go through this really fast. I'm not gonna hit every single thing on here. If you want more information, you can hit the link. So I'm just gonna do a couple highlights. In Star, what's very interesting is that the new home transfers, they're down about 33% year over year. Their permits are down about 33%, but their vacant lots, they're sitting about at 906 vacant lots. If we took the new home transfers versus the vacant lots, assuming that every year that those are gonna be happening, that the new home transfers aren't gonna increase or decrease, there's about 2 3/4 years worth of vacant lot inventory in that market. It's really mind-boggling. There's 4,228 lots that are going through the entitlement process. So that means they've been approved, and maybe they're going through and getting the engineers to sign off on it. So there's going to be massive wave as long as these developers continue with their approved plans and develop these lots. Because remember, back in 2008, there was a lot of subdivisions that got approved through the cities, and then the developers didn't develop it because there was too much vacant lot inventory. So that's something that we got to watch, because that's a trickle effect. The other thing that's very interesting is CUNA. The new home transfers are down 32%. So they've only had so far this year 443 new construction new home transfers, and they have about 570 vacant lots. They have 4,539 lots that have been approved for entitlement, and they're going through the phase. So future lots that are coming, they have about 4,092 lots that are going through and trying to get approved. Plans are being submitted to the city councils to try to get those approved. So that's that's a total of 8,500 lots that could be coming on the market for builders to build here in the next couple of years. And again, we have to watch that. I think part of what's driving that, before we go on, if those of you who haven't heard, Meta is building a data center here in Boise, Idaho. So maybe that's why a lot of these developers have pushed these lots. But with the current lot status and how many new home transfers there are, there's about 1.25 years worth of inventory. But if all that other inventory comes on, that's going to increase it tenfold. Meridian permits, they've pulled about 23% less permits, but their vacant lot inventory is 2,553. So they have 2,553 lots that are currently developed that are not being built on. That's about 2.9 years of supply. Over 5,000 lots that are approved being built, they just haven't been built yet. Middleton has had about 4% decrease year over year as far as new home transfers. Permits, they've dropped about 60% permits year over year. Their vacant lot inventory is 493, and that is a 3.4 years worth of supply. And it looks like what's coming on the market is going to give them about 4 more years of supply if new home transfers stay according to the course. Nampa sitting at 785 new home transfers so far this year. They're sitting at 3 years of inventory of vacant lots at 2,348. Just to wrap this up, there's been about 4,339 new home sales here in the Valley, according to Landpro Data. There's about 3,312 permits have been pulled, so that's inventory that's going to probably be coming on the market here in the next year. But there's 10,361 vacant residential lots currently on the market, with 26,000 lots that have been approved through the city that are coming to the market as long as these developers can move the original 10,000, right? If they can't move those 10,000, then some of these may not come to fruition. But if all these come to fruition, essentially that's 26,000 more lots that are going to come to the marketplace on top of the 10,000 lots that are currently sitting. What does that mean? Well, currently there's enough for 2 years. If you add all the lots and all the new home transfers, we have over 2 years worth of vacant lot supply. And if those other lots get developed, just those other vacant lots are giving us 8 years worth of supply. So now, based on all this stuff, what are we seeing here on the market? What do we project that's coming? If everything keeps going, Meridian might have the biggest price reductions as far as if dirt gets cheaper, because keep in mind, when a builder's going to build a house, the most expensive part of it is buying the lot. That's the most expensive part when you break it down. And so with all these vacant lots, if the dirt gets cheaper, the houses are going to get cheaper, which is going to drive the resale prices down, which we've already seen so far this year, but we're going to see it continue to dive if builders keep dropping their prices to move their inventory. Meridian, again, the same thing. They have a lot of lots that are approved to be built, but their sales are down. Both their sales are down about 30 to 36%. Their permit deficiency, Meridian hasn't dropped their permits. They're the least amount that has dropped their permits from last year. So they're still about 23% deficient from last year. And CUNA is about 26% different from last year. But Meridian is sitting at 2,553 vacant lots. That's a lot of dirt sitting that's not moving right now. And CUNA has only 570. So I think if everything keeps going, Meridian might have the biggest price reductions